Now this is one isekai that I did not expect myself to really like a lot. Husbandos and waifus, welcome to another review. Today we're going to talk about, the title is really long actually. Today we're going to talk about the most heretical last boss queen. Now, this is your typical villainous isekai anime that you guys hear about. You know, like the plot line is very similar to your typical villainous isekai. Reincarnated into another world, the girl reawakens as someone from an otome game where she is the villainess and she's destined to die. And what ends up happening is that the now protagonist, who was previously a villainess, finds her way to prevent the disaster from happening. And I will say, like, a lot of villainous isekai and villainous stories tend to be very similar, especially right in the beginning. And this one, for some strange reason, was kind of like a breath of fresh air for me. It's not like the plot line is like extremely different from what you would get from your typical isekai villainous anime, but I think it has a lot to do with the main protagonist, Ivy. And I think Princess Ivy really stands out as a really good villainous protagonist, or now hero protagonist. I love it. Excuse my many hairstyles because my hair, I'm having a weird hair day. But here's a general plot line for, let me say, the actual full title: the most heretical last boss queen from villainous to savior. So it starts off with Princess Ivy waking up, remembering her past life before becoming who she is. Realizing that she is the villainess of the otome game, she refuses to become the villainess of the timeline she is in and uses her knowledge of the otome game to change the story. That's the general plot line. And it literally sounds like every isekai villainous anime that you run into, or villainous isekai plotline that you run into. But I think even though it's great to see like all of the other characters that surround her and they kind of take a spotlight, a lot of the times it seems like Ivy kind of just takes the show most of the time, and I really like that. Princess Ivy is not your typical isekai protagonist. She's an actual boss, and she can handle fights. She can handle things that even the knights themselves can't handle. Usually when we see a villainous type of isekai anime, though the protagonist is able to handle herself, she ends up needing help from a lot of people around her. Now, I think Ivy tends to be able to handle a lot of the things on her own, and she can. Though she uses all of the people that are around her to help her in certain situations, but she can handle a lot of the things that normal people could not, even her own knights. She even proves to be stronger than some of her knights. She's an actual boss, and because of that, the people that protect her want to become stronger so she doesn't have to carry all of the weight. But she still tends to carry all of the weight because she wants to be a good queen. Now, just like any regular villainous anime, it's based off of like somewhat of an otome game or otome light novel, where it's a female protagonist in a harem, and usually they have to pick between one lover, and they go the harem route. You know, that's usually what happens, that the main protagonist, the ex-villainess, tends to befriend everyone, and all of the guys and girls end up falling in love with her. Now Ivy thinks that the inevitable is going to happen, where she becomes evil, which it probably will not happen. She ends up going the harem route and bringing everyone that was against her in the otome game to her. Now, I feel like unlike most of the villainous anime that we have seen so far, even though Ivy is dense to how people feel about her, specifically the men, she is very self-aware of the situations that are going around her, and she's smart enough to put two and two things together. Like, I don't know if you guys watched My Next Life as a Villainess, which is the first villainous isekai anime that I watched, and I really enjoyed. Katarina is kind of a ditz, but that was what was so endearing about her. Whereas Ivy's a boss. Ivy's self-aware and intelligent to the point where she knows how to tackle certain situations by using the knowledge that she knows of the otome game and seeing what's around her to handle situations that most people would not be able to handle. And it's very admirable of her because she is looked at as the next queen, that she sees everyone in her kingdom as her subjects, and that she serves them versus them serving her. She wants to be able to serve her people, to do them right, to stick by their side, to the point where she will do anything to protect them. Now that's what I call a good freaking boss. And a lot of people don't realize that is, yes, people work for you, but then you also work for them. A never-ending cycle, because you have to help each other out at the end of the day. Now, some highlights on the characters that really stand out, obviously. We got the sword and shield. It's like Pokemon, right? The sword and shield. Stale, which is the shield, Arthur being the sword, Arthur being the son of a knight who was told that his power was useless, but ends up having a power that is super OP and is a very strong knight, with Stale, the shield, who is Ivy's adoptive brother. In her previous life, she puts him under a pact where he ends up becoming a slave, but in this sense, she treats him as a brother in this real timeline. And Stale has the power to teleport. Not only that, he has his own fair share of combat. On top of that, he is very intellectual, so he does anything that he can to protect his sister. So Stale and Arthur come with this brotherly pact, like, we are going to protect Princess Ivy and we're going to back her all the way to becoming a queen. Now, one of the things that I actually really like is that the protagonist of the Otome game, Tiara, ends up taking a back seat as a side character versus having a lot of shine time. Like in most villainous anime, the villainess usually brings the ex-protagonist to the limelight with her, but it seems like Tiara takes a literal backseat, becomes so irrelevant. Just a cute little sister that, you know, talks with her sister from time to time, and her brother Stale. I mean, those three are always together, right? Stale, Tiara, and Ivy, and Arthur comes to protect them. But other than that, Tiara really doesn't play any major roles so far. She usually is just, you know, taking the back seat while Ivy's in the front seat. So it really puts a lot of limelight on Ivy. And then there are enemies that you end up appreciating later on. Gilbert, who was talking a lot of smack about Ivy, ends up being saved by Ivy in certain situations, which was so freaking dope. This is one of those moments where you see Ivy kind of taking the front wheel without anybody knowing, because she wants to serve her people. She wants to help them out. And then Val, who was also in a certain situation, who was a criminal, she ends up helping Val out, and Val ends up serving her in the best possible way. All I can say is that this anime was a lot of fun, and it might possibly be my favorite villainous anime to date. I mean, there's a ton of villainous stories, manhwa, and manga that are out that I have still yet to check out and read. But so far, that has gotten an anime adaptation, and there are many villainous isekai anime that are out. And as you guys know, I love isekai anime. This one definitely takes a wheel of being one of those that I really enjoyed. So if you haven't watched it, I highly suggest it. I watched it on HIDIVE, if people are wondering. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, I talked about the meme manga that is out, Kagurabachi, as well as my most recent vlog, me checking out the Initial D Fujiwara Tofu Cafe here in California.